Immanuel Godson is a Dublin-based artist known for his work in painting and his engagement with social and political issues. He hails from Darndale, a working-class area on the north side of Dublin, Ireland, and has gained recognition for his classic, realistic art style infused with modern humour and satire. His paintings often contain hidden stories and subtle commentary, reflecting his perspective on life, community, and broader societal topics. For instance, one of his notable works, The Gagosian Fart, is a reinterpretation of Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper, showcasing his blend of traditional influences with contemporary flair. Beyond his art, Godson is a public figure who has spoken out on controversial issues such as migrant crime, replacement migration, and Irish immigration policies, appearing on platforms like FM 104 and The Niall Boylan Show. He has been described as an artist deeply connected to his community, often exhibiting his work at local venues like the Bell Gallery in Darndale Village Centre, where he supports and collaborates with other local talents. His interviews, such as one on YouTube titled Dubliners No. 4, highlight his openness about mental health and his artistic process, cementing his reputation as a thought-provoking and grounded individual. Godson also maintains an online presence, including a YouTube channel where he shares insights into his work and life, further establishing himself as the people's artist in his community. His multifaceted persona, artist, commentator, and local advocate, makes him a distinctive voice from Dublin's north side. Explore his artwork. Immanuel Godson, a Dublin-based artist from Darndale on the north side, creates artwork that blends classical realism with modern satire, often embedding subtle narratives and social commentary. His pieces reflect his roots in a working-class community while engaging with broader themes like identity, politics, and humor. One of his standout works is The Gagosian Fart, a reinterpretation of Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper. This painting swaps the solemnity of the original for a playful jab at the art world, with the title nodding to billionaire art collector Larry Gagosian. Godson imagines even a trivial act from such a figure sparking exaggerated praise, a light-hearted critique of elitism. The piece features local Darndale figures, including himself as Christ, grounding it in his community while adding personal flair. It's large-scale, nearly life-sized, and has been praised for its detail and wit, displayed at venues like the Bell Gallery in Darndale Village Centre and Donaghmede Shopping Centre. His other works often carry similar depth. A painting at the Bell Gallery, for instance, hides stories within its composition, like a corner detail of paints in a bin, a nod to an art teacher's dismissal of his early efforts. This layering of personal anecdotes with broader satire is a hallmark of his style. His art isn't just visual, it's conversational, inviting viewers to spot the innuendos and reflect on the context. Godson's process is public-facing too. He painted The Gagosian Fart live at Donaghmede, letting people watch the work evolve, which adds a performative element to his craft. His exhibitions, like one planned around Christmas 2020, showcase this community tie, often featuring other local artists alongside his own pieces at places like the Darndale Belcamp Village Centre. His subject matter occasionally stirs debate, especially when tied to his outspoken views on issues like migration, evident from his media appearances. Yet, his art leans more toward subtle provocation than overt preaching, using humor and realism to spark thought rather than dictate it. His YouTube channel offers a deeper look, with videos revealing his inspirations and mental health reflections, framing him as an artist who's as much a storyteller as a painter. Overall, Godson's artwork is a fusion of old-school technique and contemporary edge, rooted in Dublin's north side but speaking to anyone who catches the jokes hidden in the brushstrokes. Analyze hidden stories. Immanuel Godson's artwork is rich with hidden stories, subtle details and layered meanings that invite viewers to look closer and unpack the narratives woven into his paintings. Drawing from his life in Darndale, Dublin, and his sharp observational humor, these concealed elements often blend personal experience with social commentary. Let's dive into some examples based on what's known about his style and specific works. In The Gagosian Fart, his reimagining of The Last Supper, the surface story is a satirical poke at the art world's obsession with status, Larry Gagosian's hypothetical flatulence being hailed as genius. But the hidden layers go deeper. Godson casts himself as Christ, surrounded by figures from his Darndale community, suggesting a quiet elevation of the everyday people around him to a near-sacred status. This could be read as a commentary on the overlooked value of working-class life, a recurring theme for him. Look closer, and you might find small visual Easter eggs, like a figure's expression or a background object, that hint at local lore or personal in-jokes, though exact details aren't always public. These choices turn a grand classic into an intimate, localized tale. Another example comes from a painting described at the Bell Gallery, where a corner detail shows paints discarded in a bin. This isn't just a random flourish, it's a nod to an art teacher who once dismissed Godson's early efforts, a rejection that fueled his drive. The hidden story here is one of resilience. What was trashed became the foundation of his success. It's a subtle "I told you so" that doesn't scream but whispers, rewarding those who notice. His works often hide these dual narratives, personal and universal. Take his tendency to feature community members. A face in the crowd might be a real neighbor, carrying a backstory Godson hasn't spelled out but knows intimately. This mirrors his public persona as the people's artist, where the canvas becomes a quiet tribute to Darndale's unsung characters. In one interview, he's hinted at embedding a little secrets for viewers to find, suggesting objects or gestures that might recall a local event, a shared struggle, or even a jab at authority figures, though he keeps the specifics coy. The satire also hides sharper edges. His outspoken views on migration and Irish society likely seep into his art, but not as overt manifestos. Instead, a figure's posture or a symbolic item, like a loaf of bread in a modern context, might quietly question resource distribution or cultural shifts, aligning with his public critiques without preaching. These layers make his paintings puzzles. The humor hooks you, but the hidden stories keep you lingering. Godson's process amplifies this. Painting live, as he did for the Gagosian Farts at Donemede Shopping Centre, lets viewers see hints emerge in real time, though only some catch the full tale. His YouTube reflections hint at mental health struggles shaping these narratives too. A shadowed figure or muted color might encode a darker day, a story of survival beneath the satire. In short, Godson's hidden stories are his art's heartbeat, personal slivers and social nudges tucked into realistic forms. They're not always loud or obvious, but they're there: a bin of paints, a knowing glance, a local face in a grand scene. Each piece dares you to spot the tale, making his work a treasure hunt rooted in Darndale's soul. Explore specific Easter eggs. Immanuel Godson's artwork is peppered with specific Easter eggs, those subtle, intentional details that reward the observant viewer with a deeper story or a sly wink. While not every painting's minutiae are exhaustively documented publicly, we can explore some known examples and infer others based on his style, interviews, and the ethos of his work as a Dublin-based artist from Darndale. These Easter eggs often tie personal anecdotes, local references, or satirical jabs into his classical meets modern compositions. Here's a closer look. In the Gagosian Fart, his riff on The Last Supper, one confirmed Easter egg is Godson placing himself as Christ at the center. This isn't just ego, it's a subtle nod to his role as a community linchpin, the people's artist holding court among Darndale locals cast as disciples. Another likely detail, though not explicitly detailed in public sources, could be a specific face or gesture among the figures, perhaps a friend or neighbor recognizable to those in the know, carrying a private joke or tribute. Given his humor, a background item like a misplaced pint glass or a modern trinket, say, a phone, might sneak in, clashing with the biblical setting to underscore the absurdity of art world pretension tied to the Gagosian name. The Bell Gallery painting with paints in a bin offers another clear Easter egg. Tucked in the corner, this discarded art supply isn't random clutter, it's a pointed reference to an art teacher who belittled Godson's early talent. The specificity of the paints, their colors or arrangement, might even echo a real memory, like a critique he once got, turning a throwaway detail into a quiet triumph. It's the kind of Easter egg that's both hyper-personal and universally relatable. Who hasn't had a doubter proven wrong? Godson's tendency to weave Darndale into his work suggests more localized Easter eggs. In group scenes, a figure's clothing or accessory, like a GAA jersey or a chain from a nearby shop, might pinpoint a real person or place. His YouTube chats hint at this. He loves little secrets for viewers to spot. Imagine a lad with a distinctive tattoo or a woman with a scarf tied a certain way, nodding to a Northside character or moment. These aren't fictional flourishes, they're snapshots of his world, hiding in plain sight. His satire likely plants sharper Easter eggs too. Given his outspoken takes on migration and Irish policy, a painting might feature a symbolic prop, a newspaper headline half visible, a loaf of bread split unevenly, hinting at resource debates or cultural tensions. These wouldn't dominate the work, but sit quietly, waiting for the perceptive to catch the critique. In a communal scene, a figure slightly apart from the rest could be an outsider, a subtle commentary on integration woven into the fabric. His live painting sessions, like at Donemede Shopping Centre, suggest Easter eggs added on the fly. A kid watching might get sketched into a corner, or a passerby's quip could inspire a quirky detail, like a pigeon mid-flight, a Dublin staple. These spontaneous touches, tied to the moment of creation, turn the canvas into a time capsule of that day's vibe. Mental health, a topic he's open about, might hide in the shadows, literally. A muted palette in one section or a figure's downturned gaze could be an Easter egg of a tougher day, less obvious than the overt humor, but poignant if you know his story. His realism makes these details blend seamlessly, so they don't scream but murmur. Specificity's the key. Godson's Easter eggs aren't generic symbols but precise callbacks, paints in a bin, a local face, a cheeky anachronism. They're Darndale's DNA and his own, stitched into every brushstroke. Without seeing every painting up close, we can't catalogue them all, but his pattern's clear, look beyond the satire, and the canvas whispers tales only the curious will hear. Immanuel Godson's artwork is deeply tied to Darndale, a working-class area on Dublin's north side, and his paintings are rich with local references that reflect his community's identity, people, and daily life. These references aren't always overt, they're often subtle nods or Easter eggs that resonate most with those familiar with the area. Let's investigate some specific local references in his work, drawing from what's known about his art and his connection to Darndale. In the Gagosian Fart, his satirical take on the Last Supper, Godson populates the scene with Darndale locals instead of apostles. He's confirmed to include himself as Christ, but the other figures are recognizable to those in the know, staff or regulars from the Darndale Belcamp village centre, where the painting was destined to hang. These aren't generic faces, they're specific people tied to the Bell building, a community hub designed by Michael O'Shea with its unique courtyard layout. A figure might mirror someone like a worker from the Jigsaw Childcare Centre or the HSE Primary Care Unit, both housed there. This grounds the grand satire in a hyperlocal context, making it a tribute to the North Side's unsung. Another local reference comes in the settings and props. Darndale's layout, Buttercup Park, Marigold Court, Primrose Grove, Snowdrop Walk, Tulip Court, echoes its floral naming origins. Darndal means daffodil in Irish. While not every painting depicts these streets outright, Godson's tendency to hide little secrets suggests details like a daffodil tucked in a corner or a courtyard backdrop mimicking the estate's low-rise, high-density design. This housing experiment, inspired by Cricketers' Way in England, aimed to foster community but sometimes bred tension. Godson might hint at this with a laneway or a shadowed court, referencing both the spirit and struggles of the place. His community focus shines in exhibitions too. At the Bell Gallery or Donemede Shopping Centre, where he painted the Gagosian Fart live, locals saw familiar faces emerge on canvas, like a shopkeeper from the Clare Hall Tesco nearby or a lad from Priorswood. One painting's corner detail, paints in a bin, ties to his own story but also nods to Darndale's educational neglect, a generational issue residents often cite. It's a quiet dig at the system, rooted in local experience. Godson's Northside pride extends to cultural touchstones. A figure in a GAA jersey, maybe from a club like Coolock's Parnells, or a stray horse in the background could reference Darndale's proximity to a large traveller community off the R139, famously noted in Christy Moore's Go, Move, Shift. These aren't stereotypes, but lived realities. Horses wander, kids mess about in the park's fishing pond, built with the Eastern Regional Fisheries Board. A painting might sneak in a rod or a ripple, tying it to that spot. His process and venues reinforce this. Painting at Donemede, near the Malahide Road roundabout, or showing at the Bell Centre, Godson stays close to home, literally within Dublin 17's postal code. His ART scale, like the 5.8-metre Gagosian fart tailored for the Bell's wall, fits Darndale's physical spaces. Even his YouTube presence, chatting about life and art, feels like a digital extension of the Priorwood Inn's banter, a pub he's tied to in spirit if not always setting. These references, faces from the village centre, echoes of the courts, nods to the park or traveller site, make Godson's work a love letter to Darndale. They're not tourist bait, they're for the locals who spot their mate or their street in the strokes. His art mirrors the area's mix of grit and warmth, turning a misunderstood suburb into a gallery of its own stories.